Welcome to another episode of On the Couch with the Galbreaths. We are here in Castleberry Hill, and we're we continue to be excited about the couch, first of all, being here in this space because, I don't think I ever want to take it out of here, but I got a feeling we are going to
do this again.
We're going to do this again. We have a special guest, and I feel like I say that a lot, but I mean it right there, okay? Alphonzo Cross is in the building. And I'm just going to tell you real quick, the only person in this whole neighborhood that I can count on at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, when the Zoe's out of town, I'm going to go down the street, and I'm going to walk through a pink door, and I'm going to go in there, and there's going to be everyone. It's going to be live, lit, and Alphonzo's probably going to be in there with a tuxedo on. So I appreciate Parlor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, sir.
It was a wild time. And it was a lot to try and get it. It was new, and just Parlor was just new anyways. Once COVID hit, and I certainly didn't know what I was doing with Parlor, certainly making it up as I was going. And so trying to just get it to work in general, just owning a business, owning a brick and mortar. I mean, it's just a lot. It's a lot. And I certainly trying to get something started while also going through a pandemic. And then after the pandemic and trying to get it to work was just, it was not boring.
It was the swankiest thing I've seen in Castleberry.
It's the swankiest thing we had seen in Atlanta.
Right.
Up until that point, there were a whole lot of imitations, right, that followed the design, tried to follow the craft cocktails, but it was the first of its kind that we had experienced in Atlanta, period.
And I really enjoyed the couches there.
They were very velvety couches.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Parlor, a couple things. Number one, I'm super proud of what Parlor did. I'm very proud of the fact that Parlor, we were the first craft cocktail lounge in Atlanta. We were first. Wow. Nobody had done what we had done. There were folks doing craft cocktails as part of their beverage program. Doug Hines over the consulate, always will give him all his props. Yeah. But we were certainly the first to we were a craft cocktail lounge. Mm-hmm. And so I'm still very proud of that to this day. And so what we were really trying to accomplish with Parlor, with craft cocktails, with, soft seating, with a really small, intimate environment, with having art be a really big part of the conversation and of our ethos, and, working with Onaje Henderson over at Zucot, and he was helping us curate work, and then working with you guys. And so it was when Parlor first opened, I think we made the kind of splash that we made because we were doing something that not only was brand new, but that people were asking for. We really wanted to cater to a bit of an older or more mature demographic who really wanted to just sort of sit down and relax. And we weren't turned up at all.
No hookah?
Yeah, we didn't have hookah.
No.
And we didn't even have a kitchen in the beginning.
Crab legs.
I know, we didn't have any crab legs, wings.
Lamb
we didn't
chop,
have anything.
lollipops.
That. We didn't
You
have
didn't
any
have grass walls.
We didn't have anything. And we eventually, had lollipops, but we were trying something that was brand new, and we got some things right. We got some things right, and we got some things really wrong. We absolutely. And so there's a lot to be said for understanding where your opportunities and your successes can be. And then there's a lot to be said for putting your ego aside. This is something I had to super learn. And I learned really late, putting your ego aside, putting your own personal preferences aside, and doing what's best for not only the brand, but then also listening to your audience. And if they're asking for changes or if changes need to be made, being able to make those changes without, again, overly being egotistical about,
Why did you think that you could do such a thing in Castleberry, right? So for something that was so avant-garde and so different, in Castleberry Hill, we've talked about it, right? There's a lot of balance in Castleberry. There are $1 million homes in Castleberry. There are $200,000 condos in Castleberry. There's a homeless shelter in Castleberry, right?
Sure.
So you got all of it. but to try something so fresh and new and sexy.
And it was sexy. Thank
I
you.
mean, it was wild. Look, it was great. Look, Parlor
But why'd you
was a
try
hell
it
of a
here?
thing.
Like,
Yeah.
why'd you try it here?
Well, very specifically, so I was running around in the beginning before, I mean, this is in 2000s, the bottom of 2017.
Okay.
And I was running around Atlanta looking at other places that we wanted to, that I thought would be a really good fit as far as a location was concerned. And someone who's been certainly a friend, someone who's been, I can't even not say a mentor, Anthony G, really was like, why would you not do this in your own building? And it really made me look at the building very differently. So there were two things that were really influential to that question. Number one, Anthony G, and then number two, Randy Gerber, who, for many people who don't know, he and George Clooney, right, co-owned Casamigos. Before that, Randy got started in the bar game as well. Opened up this tiny little bar in New York. It was like 500 square feet, and turned that into, quite a hospitality empire. Those two things made me think I could do this.
Okay.
And so it made me look at, our building a little differently and what opportunities can come out of that. And so said, what the hell? Let's just do it in Castleberry Hill. Let's do it in this neighborhood that is, is always has 1,000 different challenges, and opportunities. And we just went for it.
Okay, so where Parlor was located is the only space where we have done taxes. So A Solutions once had an office back there.
Sure.
Where, of course, I bought many a drink. Okay. Where we actually saw, or there were yoga classes in the space.
Sure.
And then lastly that I can think of, we taught paint and sips in that space before Parlor, all this
And
before Parlor.
you had an art exhibit
Oh my gosh.
in the space.
Yeah, technically, yes.
Yeah. Whether it's adjacent or whatever, like at 249. And before all of that, there was Boxcar Grocer.
Oh,
Sure.
my gosh. Yeah.
Sure. I'm still to this day very adamant about this. I've been very vocal about this. I have anyone who knows me long enough, I have said the same thing in Atlanta since my sister and I landed here. I have never minced any words. I have literally said the same thing every time. I really think that this neighborhood, I think that Atlanta can be for people of color around the world, whether you are Jamaican, Nigerian, Brazilian. I think that Atlanta can be for people around the world what Las Vegas is for Americans.
Wow.
From a very intentional standpoint. I think if you want to transact, I think if you want to trade, I think that if you want to play, I think if you want to live, if you want to visit, you are immediately thinking of Atlanta as far as the United States is concerned.
Wow.
And I think from that standpoint, I think that ground zero for that is this neighborhood. And I think that where you put that pin, and this is me, maybe this is a wild statement to make, but I think that it's that building. I think it's the building that we own, that my sister and I co-own. That building is the epicenter for that. And so when we were doing Boxcar, we really thought that Boxcar was never my idea. That was Allison's idea.
Really?
And it was my sister's idea. And I wanted to open up a bar.
Okay.
And that's why, because I wanted to do this for so long.
We had all the ingredients in that grocery store, okay?
That's right, that. And I wanted to do this for a really long time. And she really wanted to push, she thought healthy grocery was the right way to go and that kind of a thing, and that the neighborhood needed that. And so we said, let's go. Let's give it a whirl. And so, we came into town. We did Boxcar because we're originally from California, moved here. Our father had purchased the building back in 1984 I know there's a lot of how'd y'all end up in Atlanta? And so our father is from Swainsboro, Georgia.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And so he is he passed away, but back in 2001, but he was one of 4 siblings and they all moved to Atlanta over time.
Oh, wow.
So we would come here and visit, and then he worked for United Airlines, and then he he'd look at real estate, and then he bought the building. Okay, so 1984. So fast forward, then he passes away. We inherit the property. And then in order to fix up the property, we needed to owner occupy the property. A lot of people don't know that. So at that time, this is 2009-ish, there's the market crash, banks aren't lending. It was a whole super stressful thing. So in order for us to fix the building up, we had to occupy. We had to.
What was it doing before y'all came back? Like, what was it doing from 01 to 09 or whatever?
I mean, Jesus, it was so many things. I mean, that building has been so many things to so many people over the last 30 plus years.
Okay.
There was like a hair shop in there. There was before the homeless shelter down there, it was providing some homeless services in that building.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. People have lived in there. I mean, it has been
A little bit of everything.
Rent free.
I mean, name something, right? It has done all the things. It's been a lot of things to a lot of people. And so when we got here, we decided, okay, we'll do Boxcar. We do Boxcar. Boxcar was, Boxcar was quite an experience. I mean, it was, wow. We didn't know what we were doing with that. We just wanted to do a cool grocery concept. And I'm still very proud of what we did with Boxcar. And that was a lot of trial and error. I always tell people Boxcar was just it was a really successful failure.
So it's really interesting that you kind of speak to that being that pinpoint, that red dot, right? The epicenter for what the neighborhood could be, what Atlanta could be to so many people. We had another conversation on the couch with James Holder, and we used to meet up at Spin and kick off ideas about Sohei Solutions before it was Sohei Solutions, and that's where the name came from. Like James and I came up with a name sitting in Spin, this very Black-owned space where we had really good pizza. And so I just appreciate you and Allison for holding on to that space and creating safe spaces for people to gather and to be. All this other stuff, like we didn't even know about.
And I have to say, just again, to be very honest, what 2x5 and Spin, we were not intentional about those being beta tests. Just to be very clear and being very straightforward.
Yeah.
That all was just a happy mistake. And we have not been, we have certainly not been the best landlords. We do not do that. We don't do any of this stuff all perfect and great. And we have certainly made all the mistakes to allow some of that.
I think you're being hard on yourself, though. Like, I think you're being unduly hard on yourself. And I say that because of what it has meant regardless, right? So I get that it wasn't all intentionality, but there was some intention behind these Black-owned spaces, Black-owned businesses staying in Castleberry.
Yeah.
And I know what that has meant for us. And so whether you were the best landlords or you were simply doing the best you could with what you had and the information you had at your disposal and learning from it, like there are people far and beyond this couch and me and George who benefited from that.
Oh, yeah.
And we were having a conversation with James, and the conversation was so often we think about what we could have done better, what we should have done better, what we wished we had known, completely neglecting what you did right and who benefited from those choices that you made that you dismiss as happy mistakes, but they were intentional choices. You made them, you did it. And I know you didn't do it by yourself, but there are a lot of people who are appreciative and benefited from those decisions, mistakes, happy mistakes, whatever you want to call it. And I want to give that just as much focus and attention as what you could have done better.
And I think it's interesting. Unintentionally, you probably made a lot of millionaires because I've seen Parlor, the idea stolen many times now. And I've seen, like, Boxcar reminds me of a whole lot of corner stores that I'm seeing pop up. And I'm like, man, did you go to Boxcar? But I mean, really, like, yeah, y'all were the guinea pigs for a lot of what's happening around other parts of Atlanta now, because I think a lot of people were afraid to invest in something that early, but then they saw it and they're like, oh yeah, okay, that worked over there.
That makes us just crazy because we're not one of the millionaires.
Right. Hey, so that's how it happens. I think we made some millionaires too.
I think that look, there have been, people have come after Parlor, people have come out of Boxcar. I'm a huge proponent of influence. I think that you can just be influential, and then people you can influence. We just serve drinks, and we have soft seating, and there's 4 walls. Like anybody can buy couches and go buy booze and make things happen. And so being first to do something is certainly not fun. It looks sexy for a second, but it's a lot of work. You usually take a lot of the slings and arrows and all the bullets first, going over the hill first. But I'm very proud of offering space to any and everybody that we have been able to do that with, that has benefited from that.
And you mentioned the soft couches and the 4 walls and the drinks.
They're very soft couches. Oh my gosh. Listen.
I need to get George one of those couches.
Clearly,
couch,
our next set of couches, right? Won't look like this.
No,
They'll
like
look
that.
like
That.
parlor couches. But there was also the way you made people feel when they entered the space.
Yes.
So to be welcomed by you in that space, that level of hospitality and hosting and all those things, we had never experienced it anywhere else. And so, yes, anybody can offer 4 walls and they can offer drinks and soft couches, but there's something about you and I guess your hospitality expertise that you bring into a space that we hadn't experienced before. And we felt the same way you had us buy stuff at Boxcar. We wasn't planning on buying. You had us try that stuff. We had no intention, and it was, because of you. So do you recognize that piece of yourself? Like, does it come from somewhere? Like, have you always been the host with the most? Like,
I don't consider myself a very good host, but what I do, I'm not a very. I don't know if I'm.
Are you good at it? What do you consider yourself good at?
I don't know if I'm a very good host, but what I think that I do, what I think that I have been able to understand over the years, I have a really heavy sales background, and then I have a really heavy hospitality background. And so what I think that I've been able to really understand is a couple of things. Number one, just from an ethnic or a racial standpoint, look, Black folks, we go into spaces and we are hoping for the best from our experience. It's very rare that we get to go into spaces knowing we're going to get the best from our experience.
Oh, wow.
We hope, we wish somebody would, all these things. And I really wanted to make sure, and I still, even to this day, even with the work that I do now, really always want to make sure that when we enter spaces that we know and that we are guaranteed a particular level of service and hospitality and quality of products. I think that we deserve that, and I'm really adamant about that. Have always wanted to make it a point that when people leave, that they leave with the feeling that they could not have gotten that anywhere else. There's a friend of mine, she used to always say, and she works in the same hospitality industry, and we always wax poetic about, we love just talking shop about the hospitality industry. And she came up with this and said that, it's my friend Jennifer Krapp, who says that this industry is the only industry, the hospitality industry is one of the few industries where you leave after spending money and you leave with nothing. You just leave with a feeling.
Oh, wow.
And I believe that wholeheartedly. And so, yes, I wanted to make sure that when people entered into these spaces, that they got all of the service, all of the hospitality, all of the feeling special, all of everything, because everyone deserves that.
Wow.
It is not okay, and it's super funny because when people ever come into a space, like when they come to Parlor and they would have a bad time, or they thought maybe I was not being as hospitable as I could, or maybe I was off my game, whatever. They're like, oh, this is not a great experience, whatever. It would always just like to my core bother me because every single day when I go to work, it is my job to make sure that when people come and they sit down, that they have a really, really amazing time. And that's all that matters.
That's how I always felt at Parlor. Because like, you feel like a nice cheers. You know what I mean? Like, hey, Norm, come on in. I got your seat ready for you type of thing, And
I wanted that.
Yeah.
And I wanted that feeling. And I wanted that feeling to be from not only just from me, but I wanted it to be from these couches and the artwork on the walls and the drinks. And it was supposed to be well-rounded 360-degree experience and not just like, oh, Parlor's really great for this one thing, but it was supposed to be a culmination of things. And so I guess at the end of the day, I've been very humbled about all of this as well, because it didn't, I don't know, maybe no business goes the way you want it to, but I've been very humbled by Parlor, that at the end of the day, I just wanted it to work for everybody that walked in the door.
Okay.
That's all. It was supposed to work for every single person that walked through that door.
Yeah.
Felt like this was something special, and it was very special for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's,
sorry.
no,
you got
no.
something. My bad. Go ahead.
Don't forget.
I won't forget. I'm gonna focus on this. Okay.
No, it makes for Articulate. I wanted the same thing, and at some point we decided no VIP, no special preview, no special tickets. Everybody comes in, they feel good. Like they feel good about their experience.
Absolutely.
And every year we'll get one or two people who say something off the wall, and I have to remember the other 800 people who came through the door and had a great experience because. I get it, right? Like you want people to feel good. And especially with our people who often feel like their money isn't appreciated in the same way or their presence isn't appreciated in the same way. And I want you to feel like you got more than what you expected. Like if you come, like I want you to feel like, yeah, like I got all of this for this, you know? And I want you to tell everybody about it. So I think, again, from an inspiration perspective, right? An influence perspective, I know that you have influenced me and the way that I hope people feel when they come to our events and their pop-up events, but nonetheless want them to feel good.
So you're a visionary, plain and simple, right?
With bad vision, but sure.
Hey, listen, hey, like I'm owning.
Bad vision is better than no vision.
Yeah, I'm owning your epicenter dream. Okay, like if Atlanta is it and Castleberry is it, I just see property value going up and I'm ready for it. Okay, so. Walking down future Castleberry. Well, as a matter of fact, walking down future Peter Street, okay?
Jesus.
First of all, anybody that hasn't been here before, this is Black Mecca. Like, even if you don't understand what Black people are all about, there's some of it, all of us here in Castleberry, right?
Definitely.
And you're walking down Peter Street. I mean, you're going to hit, even right now where there's a lot of development going on, where there's some spaces that are not occupied, you're going to hit 20 Black-owned businesses.
Easy,
right?
Easy.
Just at its best.
Sure.
What do you see Castleberry being?
Well, what I don't think a lot of people know is that Castleberry Hill is the largest concentration of Black-owned dirt and business owners. And I want to say definitely in Georgia. I think I have my statistics correct. But it's certainly just one of the largest concentrations of Black dirt owners, people who literally own the dirt, and also business operators. But I think that the future of when I walk down the street and I look at the future of this neighborhood, it is that level of intentionality from a development standpoint and that level of intentionality from an operations standpoint. Okay. And then third, from a residential standpoint. I think that there is, I still believe, and my belief has been tested. My belief has wavered. You know, my belief has been tested. It has absolutely been tested. And my belief is still here that walking down this street, look, it's in the future, the future of Castleberry Hill wouldn't even have cars driving down it, to be really honest with you. That you would actually block the neighborhood off and that it would be hyper walkable. And that you would park on the perimeters and that you would have to walk everywhere to experience
I'm a drink to that, in fact.
Yeah, that would be the dream. But the dream is that you have the best Black-owned restaurants, the best Black-owned hotels, that you have the best, you've got great residences, that you have straight streets and but that you have a neighborhood also that is hyper connected to the HBCU, very intentionally, that there's a real pipeline from a tech standpoint, an operator standpoint, and artistic standpoint. I think that you are walking through this neighborhood in the future, and there, again, you've got transportation that is really hyper intentional as well. I think that there's a way to even move people through the neighborhood, and then you have a hyper amount of intentionality with art and what Suka's doing, what My Bailey's doing, what you guys are doing. I mean, the future of all this stuff should then hyper connect with the stadium and all kinds of future development. And so, without being overly specific about, my vision of this neighborhood, I think that it is about connectivity. I think it's about exposure. I think it's about accessibility. And at its core, I think it's about real ethnic culture. I think it is about it being everything. We can accomplish these things in this neighborhood.
Well, I would say that I hope that there's some more visionaries that are willing to fail in order to make this better. And yeah, just really make Castleberry, I think, what we all know it can be.
I think that there's a lot of opportunity for that to happen. And I look forward to, again, people with bigger brains and better access and all the things to really make it a reality.
Hopefully we'll turn into some millionaires later on.
I
George
like
said something to me the other day that surprised me a little bit. Maybe yesterday. That at some point we could partner with you on something. That there's something, there's an idea, there's a vision that we could work through with you. And I thought that was really cool.
Best of luck. I wish you the best of luck. Hope that turns out good for you. Yeah.
I think it's going to turn out great for all of us. Okay. Yeah. Well, I look forward to working with you again. I know you got the water over there, but I'm going to cheers you anyway.
I do have water, and as I'm just trying to be an adult.
Cheers to Castleberry.
Here's the Castleberry.
Cheers.
There. Cheers. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.